what underlies this powerful form of social learning? Why is it we have social learning as primates in a way that most species do not? Well, for one thing, we have a special sort of neuron called a mirror neuron. And these were discovered quite by accident in primates. The researchers were electrically recording brain activity in the lab, and what was going on, I think it was monkeys, it's primates of some kind, they put peanuts in front of them. And when the monkey or chimp would reach out to grab the peanut, they would record the activity of the neurons. Well, one day, somebody from outside the lab comes in and sees the peanuts there in front of the subject, reaches down and grabs one. Activity that was not there previously. Activity that was only there when the animal reached. Now, this wasn't the critter being all angry that someone else was grabbing their food. That would not have been surprising. What was surprising was it was the exact same brain activity that they were seeing when the monkey itself was reaching out to grab the peanut. If you are a baseball fan, we could do this sort of study with you, and when you watch people pitch or hit the ball or whatever they're doing, your brain would light up in the same areas as theirs. This is thought to be very important for our imitation, our mimicry. So when juniors following, 5-year-old kids following Dad around, mimicking everything that Dad's doing, those mirror neurons are going crazy. So that's an important piece, absolutely no doubt, mirror neurons. Dopamine, which we've talked about before, notice how we keep looping back? There's a reason for all the time we spent the first half of the semester. Do you remember about dopamine and reward? Does anybody remember that? Dopamine, reward. I remember talking about how when you do something that is satisfying to you, something that you find meaningful, you get release of dopamine through the nucleus accumbens. Well, now we're back 360. The dopamine reward system is enormously powerful in helping us learn new things. And it does this in two ways. It provides positive reinforcement by giving you a subjective sense of pleasure. It feels good. And it increases wanting, that sense of longing, desire. That's the same network in action. And it makes it very likely that you will repeat that process. So, learning is strengthened by activation of this system. Olds and Milner in the 50s were studying animals, and they were wanting to figure out where learning happens in the brain. And the thought was if they stimulated certain parts of the brain, they might improve learning. Well, what happened was they got their electrode in the wrong place. They missed. They didn't put their electrode where they meant to, and the result was one of the major findings of neuroscience of all time. So the idea here in their experiments after they found this pleasure center was you could take and drop an electrode, point 2 here, into the nucleus accumbens. or into that pathway. And then that electrode is hooked up to this lever in the cage that the rat can press. So what happens is every time the rat pushes the lever, a small electrical current is delivered to the nucleus accumbens. Has everybody got this? Fairly simple, elegant design. Here's what happens. So this is called intracranial self-stimulation. An animal with this setup will self-stimulate hundreds of times an hour. So if I put an electrode, stimulating electrode, into your nucleus accumbens and gave you a little remote control, and every time you push that button, you got a stimulation, you would push that button until you ran out of batteries or collapsed. And nothing else would be important to you in the world. In rats that have been food deprived, they chose intracranial self-stimulation over food, over water. Rats with this setup choose intracranial self-stimulation over sex. Think about that. How many things would you choose over sex? Well, no, you said something. About four? You might need some practice, but there shouldn't be that many things. I had to. What was the first one? Money? Okay, well. And just for the record, if you're doing sex right, happiness is probably right there. But anyway, back on topic. Animals with these implants will self-stimulate till they literally collapse from exhaustion. That's just amazing. And the monkeys were doing this would hit that lever up to 8,000 times an hour. So let's riddle that out there. Let's see if we can get there. Where'd it go? Didn't I just, oh, here it is. All right, so 8,000, 60 minutes in an hour. Does everybody agree to that? 133 times a minute divided by 60 seconds. 2 times a second, they're hitting the lever. They're down with this. They like this. This network is very, very powerful. What's going on with this kind of stimulation is it is lighting up that network stronger than you would have from normal activities. That's why they prefer it to sex. That's why they prefer it to other things that would motivate them. This network is involved in all drugs of addiction. Cocaine, alcohol, nicotine, all the drugs of addiction activate this system. Curiously, hallucinogenics are not addictive because they don't activate the system. So you might drop the brown acid and have a wild trip, but you're not going to become addicted to that drug if it is only that drug that you're taking. The other thing, was I talking about drug? I don't remember the other thing. So drugs. Yeah, that's not been that important. All right. So this system, mighty, mighty important. And let's go ahead. I'll enlarge this. I've already told you this. I remember the other thing. It's the point of the lecture. Normal learning activates this system. because we are not hardwired for all of our behaviors in the way that, say, that wildebeest is, or maybe a woodpecker, because we are born with this need to learn things, we need to be rewarded for learning. Otherwise, we'll just sit till we die. And this is where I think play comes from. Play is a way of learning things. And this getting rewarded for engaging the environment in novel ways is why we're adaptable to so many different terrains. If you think about it, people live in a lot of environments, a lot wider range of environments than most species do individually. So it's a fairly important thing. Questions about this?